As they nervously watched Peter, they started to see visible changes in his body. His skin began to shrink and tighten and turn white all over. He didn't look sick or weak. The scene reminded Vorden of what Quinn had looked like before his evolution into a full vampire. It looked like Peter's body hadn't lost any mass, but it looked like he was shriveling up and was dehydrated. "Hey, he's not turning into a Wendigo, is he?" Quinn asked the system. "I don't know for sure, but you should be prepared for the worst. I'll be honest with you, these are the signs of someone turning into one. If that's the case, I think it would be best to allow Logan to just kill Peter," the system replied. "But I thought you said I couldn't kill Peter. Also, why can't we just feed him again till he evolves, like last time?" Quinn asked, with a mix of fear and hope in his voice. "For your first question, as long as it is someone else who is going to kill Peter and you don't try to abandon him at that moment, anyone can kill him. Secondly, unlike other classes, Wendigos can't evolve anymore, and unlike a ghoul, they aren't loyal to their master at all. They have lost their intelligence entirely and can only react based on instinct. They have only one thing on their mind, which is food. The only bit of loyalty they have left is that they won't attack their master, but for the rest of their undead lives, they will continue to hunt and kill humans to eat their flesh," the system replied, dashing Quinn's hope. Quinn didn't like the idea of it, but if Peter turned into a Wendigo, he had no other choice. Too many people had already gotten hurt. He had felt guilty about Peter's situation, which was why he was doing his best to help him, but this was a cost that would be too high, even for him. At the same time, there was something that was worrying Peter a lot more right now. His heartbeat was starting to slow down. With the pain on top of this, he thought perhaps he was dying. However, even though his heart wasn't beating anymore, he could still feel everything, and it didn't feel like he was dead at all. Then finally, his heartbeat had stopped entirely, and at the same time, so did the pain. "Congratulations! Your ghoul has successfully evolved into a Wight. Blood ritual skill has evolved. 1 of 3 slots remaining for the cursed family." As Peter stood up from the floor, his face looked more sunken in than before, and his skin was slightly paler. Immediately, Peter grabbed his chest for some reason, and he held it there for a while, yet there was nothing. Not a single beat was felt. "Tell us your age, name, and where you are," Logan shouted. He had to make sure that Peter was right in the head. "I don't answer to you," Peter snapped. "I will only answer to one," he said, pointing at Quinn. Quinn then repeated the question. "Peter Chuck, 16, and we are inside Logan's room, sir." Satisfied with the answers, Logan put his hand down, but also made sure not to take the mechanical weapon. "Inspect. Name, Peter Chuck. Race, Wight. Stats will correspond with Creator until it reaches its limit." Seeing the last bit of information had given Quinn a surprise. This meant right now that Peter had the same stat points as Quinn. He was just as strong and just as fast. Although the second part would suggest it would continue to increase as long as Quinn got stronger, at some point it would reach a cap. "What is a Wight, though? Is it bad like the Wendigo or one of the better ones?" Quinn asked. "Why don't you use your inspect skill and see?" the system replied. "If you select the race option with your mind, it should pull up more information." Race, Wight. An undead creature which is fast and sneaky in the night. They are best used as a form of an assassin. Wights have a high level of intelligence, similar to humans, although their personalities could not be said to be the same. They are lawful to their creator, but once they see someone as their enemy, they will do everything in their power to get rid of them. Wights are immune to poison, sleep, paralysis, mind control, and diseases. They also contain a skill that will allow them to turn a killed victim into another lesser Wight. 0 of 2. Vorden could see Quinn taking in something. He noticed he did this from time to time, and then would eventually explain what was going on. Perhaps it was some sort of vampire skill or something, but it did make him wonder where he got all his vampire knowledge from. He had always assumed that it was Layla the vampire freak feeding him this information. "Is everything okay? Do we still need to feed him?" Vorden asked. "It's all right. Peter, you are no longer a ghoul. You're now something known as a Wight," Quinn replied. After explaining everything to Peter, he finally understood why his heart had stopped beating. He was an undead creature, no longer alive. "Can I die, sir?" Peter asked. Quinn found it strange that Peter kept referring him to Sir, but could only assume it had something to do with his class change. It seemed to also cause a slight personality change in Peter as well. Well, you're already dead. There is no longer any need for you to eat, and your unnatural healing abilities will heal you most of the time. But if you do get hurt and you use too much energy, you will once again have to eat, although there is no longer any requirement for it to be fresh," Quinn explained as the system continued to inform him. Everyone in the room could finally relax and sit down. It was finally all over. Still, Peter had decided to leave the personality change that the system said a Wight would have. Since it seemed like Peter was being lawful to his creator like it said it would, it most likely meant the second part was genuine as well. If a Wight saw anyone as its enemy, then he would do everything he could to get rid of the person. As long as no one tried messing with him for now, everything should be okay. But there was one upcoming situation left that they had to deal with. That was worrying him about this. His next meeting with Duke is in a few days. "I have a question," Vorden said. "How did you figure out what we were up to?" Vorden was sure he had covered all their tracks with Fex. The last thing he wanted to do was get caught, yet they did. If they had slipped up somewhere and Fex was able to find out, then this meant others could find out about what happened to them as well. Logan then walked over to Peter, who turned his head and gave him a dead-eye stare. Seeing this, Quinn immediately intervened. "Peter, stop that!" It was almost like an instinct for Quinn to do this, like he was telling off a bad dog growling at another person. The wristwatch had been removed, and Logan made a few adjustments using his glove before handing it back to Peter to put back on. For now, he had removed the listening device implanted. That's when he noticed that the heartbeat sensor inside hadn't indicated a signal in a while. If he had found this out too late, the guards would have rushed over. Although he didn't know why, he could only assume it had something to do with evolution. He decided to also make a fake signal so it would indicate that Peter was alive. Peter had become a lot less talkative, and at the same time, it seemed like he wasn't as timid as before. It was causing a strange atmosphere in the room. "Peter, why don't you come over by me?" Quinn said, noticing how everyone was feeling. Peter then walked over to where Quinn was, while constantly looking around the room as if he was watching out for any dangers. "I planted a listening device into Peter's wristwatch when you asked me to make adjustments. I felt like you were hiding something, so this was the best cause of action." Hearing this news, Quinn felt like he had no right to be upset with Logan. He was hiding things from him, and even now, Quinn still hadn't told him a few things. "It's okay. Logan, are we still friends?" Quinn asked. "We're friends?" Logan replied with an odd look on his face. "Of course. Friends help each other out, and you've helped me more than ever," Quinn explained. "Well, if that's the case, this seems to be a one-way friendship, since you haven't helped out with anything at all yet," Logan replied. Although Logan sounded rude, he wasn't. Logan had always been honest like this and didn't know about human feelings.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.